I'm Lars Hilton Jacobs, and you're watching VideoWebb.
I'm wishing on a star to follow where you are. I'm wishing on a dream to follow what it means. I'm wishing on a star to follow where you are. I'm wishing on a dream to follow what it means. And I wish on all the rainbows that I've seen. I wish on all the people who really dream. And I'm wishing on tomorrow rain will come. And I'm wishing on all the loving we've ever done. I never thought I'd see a time when you would be so far away from home, so far away from me. Just think of all the moments that we spent. I just can't let you go for me. You were meant, and I didn't mean to hurt you, but I know that in the game of love you reap what you sow. I feel it's time we should make up, baby. I feel it's time for us to get back together and make the best of things, oh baby, when we're together. Whether or never, I feel it's time we should make up, baby. I feel it's time for us to get back together and make the best of things, oh baby, when we're together. Whether or never, I'm wishing on a star to follow where you are. I'm wishing on a dream to follow what it means. And I wish on all the rainbows that I see. I wish on all the people we ever been. And I'm hoping on all the days to come and days to go. And I'm hoping on days of loving you so. I'm wishing on a star, follow where you are. I'm wishing on a star, oh, and I wish on all the rainbows that I see. I'm wishing on a star, follow where you are. I'm wishing on a star, and I wish on all the rainbows that I see. I'm wishing on a star, follow where you are. I'm wishing on a star, oh, I'm hoping and praying, baby. I'm wishing on a star, oh, follow where you are. I'm wishing on a star, baby, to follow wherever you might be. Wishing
I'm originally from Detroit, and I was with Motown, and but I was a record promoter, and I used to handle his records years ago.
Tell us who you are.
Well, Bob Brooks is my name.
My name is Bill Tate. I've been a Norman Whitfield fan since 1965, when he wrote Beauty Only Skin Deep. And I knew he was a diamond in the rough, and I followed him ever since. I'd like to say to Mr. Whitfield, thanks for the memories. Your name will live forever.
Introduce yourself if you will.
Hey, how you doing? Derek Thompson.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you know?
I met him in the late 70s, early 80s. There was a park called Poinsettia Park. And right across the street from Poinsettia Park was Motown West. And so all the acts would come over, Temptations, Sidney Poitier, anybody, they would be there. And he just, we're friends, you know. And he's a good man. Yeah. Poinsettia Park.
Poinsettia Park?
Poinsettia Park.
Where's that located?
That's on Willoughby and Poinsettia Park. Yeah. It's up in Hollywood. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your work.
Oh, sure.
that believes in me from the dead, it shall be lived. And whosoever lives and believes in me shall never die. I know that my Redeemer lives, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth, though after my flesh destroy this body, yet in my spirit shall I see God, whom I shall see for myself. Mine eyes shall behold not another. A man that is born of a woman, woman that is born of a woman, has but a short time to live in this world. And in the midst of living, we are caught up in dying. But praise be to God in Jesus Christ. In the midst of dying, we are caught up in living. In the midst of all our vain strivings, to whom shall we turn for comfort, but to thee, O Lord. To this we may say in sum and summation of the life we celebrate here and now. The Lord is given. The Lord is taken away. Let everyone say, blessed be the name of the Lord.
Blessed be the name of the Lord.
Tiffany, darling, would you come forward and represent all of us as we greet each other to the fourth, fifth generation. Let us share a moment in prayer. Lord God, the day started with fall. And those who have made it through the fall anticipate sunshine. Those who make it through the sunshine anticipate darkness. And if it is a fair day, they will not be surprised if there is rain, even storm, even hurricane. Disaster is a part of life. And our hearts are yours. Because in you we know disaster is not the final word. So what we call death is not disaster, but it is walking through a curtain. It is coming out of the rain. It is coming out of sometimes despair and disappointment, Sometimes a smile is present, other times a frown is present. No matter what, God is always present. So we thank you for every home represented here beneath this roof. Thank you for every hope. Thank you for every dream. Thank you for the blessings of a reasonable portion of health, strength, food, clothing, shelter, and someone who will say to us, I love you. I love you. We love you, Lord. And we will not miss a heartbeat, a single moment to pass the love along. Somebody needs to hear, I love you. In the name of our Lord, tell your neighbor on your right hand, I love you. Tell your neighbor on your left hand. The psalmist, the song writer, Psalms 98, sing a new song to the Lord, telling about his mighty deeds, for he has won a mighty victory by his power and holiness. He has announced this victory, revealed it to every nation, by fulfilling his promise to be kind to Israel. The whole earth has seen God's salvation of his people. That is why the earth breaks out in praise to God and sings for utter joy. Sing your praise accompanied by music from the harp. Let the cornets and trumpets shout. Make a joyful symphony before the Lord the King. Let the sea and all its vastness roar with praise. Let the earth and those living on it shout, glory to the Lord. Let the waves clap their hands in glee, and the hills sing out their songs of joy before the Lord. The Lord is coming to judge the world with perfect peace. And then from the New Testament, John 14, let not your heart be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me, said the Lord. For in my Father's house are many rooms, many mansions. I go away to prepare a place for you. And I will come again when I have done so to receive you. And you know where I'm going, and you know the way. Thomas said to him, Lord, we don't know where you're going. How can we know the way? And Jesus replied in the words that give us hope for every moment of our lives. I am the way, and the truth, and the life, and the light, and the resurrection, and the strength. No one comes to the Father except by the Son. Henceforth, you know me, you know him, and have seen him. Let's share a word of music. If you're present, William Bryant, let us Natalie Woodson, please. Thank you.
Norman, ooh, Norman, ooh, keep my head up.
Yeah.
Way back when I was way back. But one was in front of me.
Yeah.
But I'm praying today that this encourages you and helps you along your way. And know that someday you see Norman again.
Yes.
And right now, Norman's not hurting. He's not sad. He's happy.
Yes.
Sleeping. We, Jesus, returns and all be caught up in that. You're living, you're sleeping. I just praise the Lord, and I'm so honored to be with you, baby. Thank you for having me. Walk with me. Walk with me. Walk with me. Walk with me. While I'm on this tedious journey. I want you to hold me in my trouble. Hold me when the storm of life is raging. Hold me and everything is alright. See this one more time. Hold me in my trouble.
Come on, let's express our thanks to God for the creativity of this marvelous soul who gives himself today. Thank you, and thank you. Reverend Vince John, with the four of you drawn there now, and will be making words in tribute to this lovely life that we celebrate. Will the four of you come now? Renee Patterson, Ron Murray, Vincent Bell, John Whitfield, join us up front, please. And those of you who might wish brief testimonials, you may add yourself to the list. We would ask please to restrict yourselves to 2 minutes if you are not listed, and come now and be prepared to follow. If you have a remark or a word of tribute, please come now.
Giving honor to God, pastor, family, and friends. Boy, there's so much I want to say about Norman, but there's nothing I can say that this wonderful family doesn't already know. As a kid, Norman was one of my idols. He was a dream come true that later in life he became my friend, and then he became my mentor. Because of his age and difference, I had to respect him as an elder, which I always did because I was raised that way. As time went on, we became closer and closer. Norman would come by my house and stay all night, several nights at a time. And the chair in my living room was considered Norman's chair. Sometimes I left him in the front room in his chair when I went to bed. I would wake up the next morning and find him still there, asleep. On many mornings, Norman would wake up and find my son Christopher climbing all over him and pulling his beard and ponytail. I would hear a loud voice talking as I got up and found my son in Norman's lap, just messing with him. It was Norman saying, "Ouch! Boy, get off me, leave me alone." I would tremble a little because I knew that Norman was the type of guy who would let you have it if you had to have it, if you had to. I didn't want Christopher to get on his nerves. He never uttered a word about Christopher messing with him. He would just laugh and say, "Don't worry about it, Vinny. I like the little guy. Leave him alone. He ain't doing nothing but playing." My wife and I realized that Norman had become more than a friend. To us, he had become a part of our family. He would say that he remembered when his boys was Christopher's age, and it brought back memories for him. He said he was always working, so he missed a lot of time. The family meant everything to him. He told me that he admired me for the time I put in as a father. He said, I showed him something about being a father, and he told me to cherish my moments with my son and to keep it simple. That means a lot to me. One day he said he had been watching me for a long time and decided to come and work for him. I gladly accepted his offer and was in awe because here I was working for one of my idols. While working for him, he would always make his stops to see his brother, check on his boys, talk with his daughter, go by his nieces and nephews' places, and of course, go to his favorite restaurant and go on to his favorite trip, Las Vegas. Norman was a great teacher. He had an uncanny way of sharing his wisdom. He was articulate, very creative, had great taste, was very funny, and he spoke his mind. But he always would come out with something to grab onto. He was a wonderful man, and I loved him My family loved him. He treated us like family. God bless you, Norman. You were a pillar of light. Your wonderful songs will be with the world forever. Rest in peace, my friend. The berries. Vinny, the bat, all.
Thank you, Jim. If there are others, please come forward now. Come down. If there are others of you with words and tribute. And we thank you again for being a part of the family and helping to coordinate all.
I don't know what I'm going to say. I feel so much. I'm Norman's niece, Karen, and he was so much to me. I got on my pride and volunteer. Norman was my uncle. We were friends. We talked about everything. And he's given me so much advice and support. He's helped me with being supportive with words and sometimes with money when I need it. And he's just always been there for me. I was his manicurist, and we really talked about, and I would go over and do his nails and his pedicures. I was his chef, made meals for him. He loved my cooking. He'd say, make me some of that stuff like your mother used to make. Or he'd try to get me to duplicate things that his mother made him. And I didn't know how to duplicate those. Make me one of those meat pies. That was the last thing. Like my mother used to make. And I go, I don't remember Grandma Whitfield making any meat pies. I don't know how to do it. I can make it my way for you. He didn't like it as much. I tried to write a poem. I thought about things to put in the book, but what we shared was so special that I really couldn't put it into words. And then I guess I got a little selfish and I said, I don't even want to try to explain it to everybody that's going to read that program. That's between me and him. And he'll just always live on in my heart, in my spirit. And of course, every time I hear his music, if I won't be crying, I'll be smiling. But the memories will live on. So I won't say I'll miss him. I'm glad he's not suffering anymore. I didn't like seeing him like that, and he didn't like you all seeing him like that. Thanks for coming to the hospital, but he didn't want y'all to see him. That's a strong man, and very proud. Ain't too proud of big, but but thank you for going, and for him getting to see your faces, and it did mean something to me. Once he got past his pride, he did appreciate everyone who came and saw him, and the family. We all appreciate that. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Scott. I'm honored to be here this morning to pay respect to a hero of mine. I hope you will allow me to tell a little circular story. When I was a little boy growing up in Suitland, Maryland, very dangerous, challenging neighborhood in the early 70s, one of the joys I was able to participate in was a monthly trip to the mall to spend 99 cents on an album of my choice. The very first record I bought around the spring of 1973, I was very excited to get it because I heard a short song on the radio called Masterpiece. It was a white album with embossed faces of the Temptations of the same title. I was delighted to come home and find that the song was 12 minutes long. And it fully captured for me what it was like to grow up in the environment that I was growing up in at the time. Social upheaval, people not trusting each other, and it put it all in perspective for me. It made me able to deal with the situation much better as a 9-year-old. And then on the flip side, of course, it was Hey Girl, which gave me some hope that I might be successful with ladies someday myself. All right. I'd just like to say that if we could flash forward about 27, 8 years to 2001, I was privileged to do a television documentary on the life of Marvin Gaye for the A&E network. It afforded me the opportunity to speak with many of my heroes, in particular the two Mr. Hollins, Mr. Dozier, Gladys Knight, Otis Williams from The Temptations, Obie Benson from the Four Tops, two brothers that I respect greatly, Johnny Bristol and Leon Brown. And also, after much negotiation, I was able to talk to Mr. Strong and Mr. Whitfield on the telephone. And I had to ask them something that I'm sure they were asked many times, considering the body of work. I'm sorry, this is all coming off the top of my head, so forgive me. I just had to ask them, where did it all come from? And how was it all able to be accomplished? And their answer surprised me in the sense that it wasn't long, drawn out, thought out. They said, you know, it just came from our experience and it came from our heart. And I took that with me from those interviews to mean that it was very simple for them. Another songwriter once told me, it's easy to be complex. It's easy to be complicated. But it's hard to be simple and create a song that as if it was always there, as if it just came out of thin air. It was always around you. And these are the songs they created. And if I could just complete the circle for you this morning, it gives me great pleasure now to drive my children to school in the morning. My daughter's 8, my son's 11. To be playing this music and to spontaneously hear from the back of the car from my 8-year-old, or hear, you know, from my 11-year-old, they love this music. And nothing, I think, demonstrates the timelessness of great music in that it carries on through the generations without even trying. Right. All you gotta do is put it on. So I'm just here as a fan, really, and the music is in my blood and in my soul for all these decades now. And I just appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to you this morning. God bless you. Thank you.
Good morning, family and friends. I'm Mike. I worked for Norman for about 5 years, even through Snowtown. I am so happy that I had a chance to see him the first time in March. I told him to get up out of the bed, okay? We have things to do. There are too many people who need your music. He laughed. He was so happy to see me. I was so happy to share with him that I had to write an article about him in one of my classes. And I told him, in comparison to one other producer I was working for at Motown, that I really liked him. I couldn't believe, after all these years I worked for him, I really liked him then, but this was really more, I'm telling you, so heartfelt. I had to share it with him, and he laughed. I am so happy I'm here with you and family. I love you. I'm from Whitfield Records. Used to be, but I'll always be Whitfield Records. Thank you.
My name is Doris, and I've been with the family for about 7 years.
but I'm here basically to represent my sister as well. She worked with Norman for many, many years in Motown, and she wasn't able to be here, so she wanted me to send a message to let you all know that she gives you condolences, and she wished the best for each and every one of you, and that Norman has left his legacy. And what is your legacy you're going to leave for your family and your children and children's children? That is the question she has for each and every one of us. What is going to be your legacy? Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Jeffrey, and I'm really I'm not prepared, but I am prepared. Norman was a very unique individual. I have to say this because I was very, very blessed to have an opportunity to see and experience the many sides of Norman. And Norman, you hear this expression, musical genius, and it's bandied around as becoming very common term spoken used in many instances. But when it comes to Norman, I don't even think the word genius is appropriate. He was more than a genius. Norman was a master artist, creative person. He was a master. And see what happened, in my opinion, he was surrounded. The Motown experience was a miracle. It truly was a miracle. And there were many, many creative people, brilliant people, that helped that Motown experience come to existence. As a producer, there was no greater producer at Motown Records than Norman Whitfield. He was the best. Now, some people may say that, he was the best, and I'll tell you why. He had an opportunity to work with the greatest musicians on earth, known as the Funk Brothers. They were all geniuses. He had an opportunity to come behind Smokey Robinson, Holland, Dozier and Holland, Harvey Pupil, and many, many brilliant, genius people. And what Norman showed me in my working with him was his ability to study people and circumstances and situations. And he mastered that as a human being, and he brought that to his music and to his production. That's why when you hear some of the songs, the arrangements were intricate, because that's how Norman thought. The production was, nobody produces the record. I'm not just talking about Motown, I'm talking about for that whole generation. Norman was number one. He was in a category all his own. And I'm saying something to say something else about his personality. Norman was a very sensitive person, and he was very caring. He was a genius. Geniuses are different, and they can be misunderstood a lot. They're very difficult to deal with, because what they have to do, they have to create mechanisms to defend themselves. So part of the thing where he would ignore you and look at you this way and that way. Y'all know I know it, but I couldn't get it. All of that strange stuff was a way to try to get you off guard so that you couldn't get any closer to him, because he loved so hard and so deep. That's what genius is. He's sensitive. So he don't want, when he get too close to him, because he didn't want you to see him for what he really was. A very, very sensitive, loving, warm, soft person. But I was saying, that was false. That was a facade. So that y'all couldn't get all the way up on it. But I was able to get up on it and say, get back, Mr. Fisher, get on back.
You know, so I just want to tell you that Norman was a beautiful person. I love him, and he was the greatest. And family, all my love goes out to you. Thank you so much.
Hello, giving honor and glory to God and condolences to the family. My name is Roland Vining. I did not prepare anything. I just needed to come to honor his brother. In 1963, Norman produced and put together a song called Pride and Joy by Marvin Gaye. That was the same year that I first started in radio here in Los Angeles, California. I don't know if there's anybody else in the radio industry out here, but I'm here. And I've had the pride and joy for the last 45 years to play his music. I told you about it. Last Saturday, I had the opportunity to honor him at KJLH while I'm currently working, and we did a musical tribute of his music on the air. I do know for a fact that my Uncle Smokey Robinson was the original producer and writer for The Temptations until Norman came along. So Norman did the song, Get Ready. And Norman was more than ready because he dropped Ain't Too Proud to Beg. And actually, Greg didn't want to drop that, but when he did, it outshined Get Ready from that point on. Norman was the premier producer for The Temptations. But you know this. I can remember at one of Stevie Wonder's birthday parties at Carlos and Charlie's at the turn of the 60s into the 70s, and Norman had been producing the War, the Psychedelic Shack, and Cloud 9 and all of that, and he rolled up on me and he pulled me to the side and he said, Roland, what you hearing out there? What's going on? And I said, Norman, I said, the psychedelic stuff is over. It's time to do a move and do a switch. And shortly after that, he dropped Smiling Faces and Just My Imagination. I said, the love songs are back. And he had his ear to the tune to what was going on. I love Marvin. Melvin and the music that he produced and did. He was very special, and of course he is a genius, and his music will continue to live on. And as long as I'm on the radio, as long as I'm involved in the industry, I'm going to make it a fact of my life that his music will live on. And I don't know if there's any other disc jockeys in the house, but I'm representing all the disc jockeys across America of all the music that he ever produced. And I just want you to know, we're going to play his music. We're going to keep his music out there.
My name is V, and I sing with the Undisputed Truth. And I can't do this alone because there's another member out there from the Undisputed Truth, Joe. Please join me. And rest in our baby with him to rest the right way. Norman took me on my first trip to Vegas. I ain't seen that much money. And let me tell you, if he worked us, he was my very first producer. He gave me the stardom and the roadmap to get where I am today. This is my partner, Joe Harris. But we love Norman. I mean, I don't think you guys know how much we love Norman. I mean, we were in the studio with him day and night. And we've done a lot of albums with him. And we are very proud. I am very proud to be standing here today and know that he's going to the right place. Because I saw him a few weeks ago, and it's just an honor to have been one of his artists. Because he was brilliant. He was simply brilliant. And Joe,
I think I would like to start off by saying that I knew Norman's dad before I knew Norman. We used to always talk about music because he knew that at that particular time I was good at it. And we used used to say, you know, my son, he's one of those writers for Motown. And I said, yeah. I never knew that it was his dad, Norman's dad, until I was in the 20 Grand in Detroit with a group called the Peps. One of the members of my group was the very first artist that Norman ever produced. His name is Tom Stone, Necessity. I never put all those things together until Norman gave me his sin. And then it started looking like a lifeline. When Norman came and got me, I was in the 20 Grand. I had just left a group that I had put together called the Ohio Players. At that particular point in time, the Ohio Players wanted to follow a James Brown type of script. I was trying to interject a little bit of variety. I had a problem with the drummer who was the leader at that time, so it's fine. First time I've ever been fired off a big or a group. But I left that group and went with a group called Newburgh, where a little nightlife. Norman came and saw me at 20 Grand in the nightlife. Played at the very end. The next night he said, Norman wants to speak. For that day, I was kind of nervous because at that particular time I had been seeing Norman. At that particular time we had gotten to be closer friends. And he used to tell me when I was with the Peps that Motown wanted to shut us down because we were a very competitive group for Motown that was not in the Motown fold. So when Norman asked me to think about coming with him to be in the group, I was kind of mixed. I didn't know really at that particular time what to do because he wanted me to sing for females. Never sung for females before. So, it's kind of different and new to me. So I rolled with it, and the first thing he said, I'm going to get you a hit. I was nervous because I would be the first person to be with the #1 writer and producer at that particular point in time, and I couldn't get a hit. So I'm not going to say some of the things that he called me to get it. But I'm sure that folks in the studio already, I learned to read lips. One thing that I always respected about Norman, when he brought you down, he brought you back up. The thing about him that made him more unique than any of the producers, and I've worked with like many producers, is the fact that, for one thing, you don't rehearse. No rehearsal. Not rehearse? I'm not going to say what he said. No rehearsal. But in the long, to make it short, to make this whole thing short, is that I see this as the end of an era, not my era. I was only glad to be a part of it. There were a lot of bumpy times, a lot of ups and down times. If I had to live my life all over again, along with Whitfield, I'd walk right through step by step.
Well, greetings, everyone. I want to introduce two beautiful angels that God bless Norman to be by his side. Norman had a total of close to 150 nurses at his disposal while he was being prepared. I would like to bring Patricia, one of the nurses of the 150 nurses that took care of Norman.
First time we met him, he was on our floor, and he started crying because he was going into dialysis. And he turned around and he said he wanted a hug, and I gave him a hug. There was other nurses around me, but he still was very strong and he was in dialysis. There was a lot of doctors around him, and they kept him going, but he was very special to our floor. And a lot of nurses worked with him, even when he was fed. I was one of them that fed him 3 meals a day. with Fran and other nurses that he was trying to help him. But he was a strong young man that was on our floor, and we were going to miss him a whole lot. And I'm sorry for the family that he was a strong man.
There were so many nurses and doctors that took him to me. God is so good. I prayed for him, and I led him to the Lord one morning. And I said, Lord, I want to be sure that he really received you. And the next morning, I had the opportunity to be one of his caregivers. And I said, Mr. Norman, do you remember me? And he looked up at me and he said, yes, Jesus. And I Mr. Norman always had a beautiful, beautiful smile. I always will remember him. I loved taking care of him. It was an opportunity to take care of him. He was a loving person. And the nurses that took care of him and the doctors that really was tender and loving, caring to Mr. Norman. And so, family, rest assured, absent from the body, present with the Lord.
A lot of stuff to follow, isn't it? My name is David Fish, cardiologist, internist. I had the privilege of taking care of Norman for a number of years during the early stages of his visit to the clinic. I've been in practice 31 years. I grew up in Illinois, working in the steel mills, finally the first time practicing with my little rock and roll band at 12 years old in my dad's basement. At 14, when it became obvious I was not going to get my shot in the Apollo Theater, I decided that maybe my connection with the world would have to be medicine, connect with people in a different way. I sometimes tell people, I feel fortunate I didn't have the talent to continue the music, which was my childhood little thing. While I've been playing in the bar, I'm playing with some of my kids in college. That was a level of talent. I've seen approximately 200,000 patient visits in my career. I've taken care of the rich, the poor, the homeless, the disadvantaged, the famous. Everybody has a story. Everybody has something new. Everybody's been in my office long, never a long time. It's only half about medicine and it's connected. Norman was probably, and as I don't know if any of you ever heard the eulogy that Red Auerbach did about Gregory Lewis of Boston Salt Lake Prairie, who died in Salt Lake. And he said, I've been to a lot of funerals, I've heard a lot of eulogies, and I've given a number of them. And he said, they always say nice things. He said, what I'm going to say about Reggie is the truth. It's not embellished. Henry Norman was one of the strongest personalities I've ever met in my many thousands of patients. He was unique, he was quiet, he was determined, he was always Norman's way. Well, we had a number of years together. At times I wish I'd seen him more and we could have extended his visit. But the ending days for Norman were rather special. I've been through this a few times. Norman, his kids came together. We had a number of meetings about how things should be handled. Norman was peaceful and had an enormous life spirit. He really did not want to leave. And he said, Norman, you have a few more songs left and you don't leave now, okay? But in the end, all things have a beginning and he was comfortable, he was peaceful. And even when we thought it wouldn't last another day, we'd come in a day later and we'd be sitting up eating and holding for people coming in to pay homage, some of the great talents of our time. And I remember in my car at 10 years old, 1957, my dad said, turn that radio off, I can't listen to that with Elvis Presley. And I'll leave out hip-hop. Everything in between the Motown and Norman Whitfield and the other Motown people that he created help, and vice versa. So it's been just a privilege to be part of what went on with him. I think it was, under the circumstances, it was excellent. It was calm, it was peaceful. And I will always remember the smirk, his laughing little smirk when he come to the bedside and talked to him. Sometimes he'd want to talk and sometimes he wouldn't. But the legacy he leaves for me as a music lover and an amateur is very special. You know, the interconnectedness in this world, this troubled world, I can't really think of an element more than music that connects all of us. I had a patient in my office a while back. Somehow I got on religion. He was just a religious individual. So I said, well, how do you feel about God? What's your concept? He said, it's the cosmic interconnection of humanity. I liked it. He said. I thought about it, and I thought, without everybody being connected in a positive way, the world would be a lot worse. And so, the wonderful parts of the world are things like music. This country has a legacy from Preservation Hall of New Orleans to the incredible Motown era, which was the be-all, end-all of the 20th century music and the interconnectedness that we all have. And so, for better or worse, I was sort of cajoled into playing one tune bigger than one. Some of the least talent in the room, but I'm going to do that in a few minutes so I can sweat it out. I'm just always privileged to be part of this. It's great for all of you to be doing part of it too. Thank you all for coming. It's an honor for me.
One greetings, everyone. My name is Wayne Lee. I've been a consultant for Mr. Norman Whitfield for 30-some years. I want to thank the family for allowing me to play a role in their life. These three vessels that's right here is very, very important in Norman's life because they helped prepare him to receive his scholarship from University of Heaven. I can say this much is that Norman didn't suffer. He was there in a respectful way. I'm not going to go through all the valleys that we went through, but one that is so impactful in my mind is the time that when we was to the 5th floor, we went to ICU. And we was there. He was adamant that he didn't want to be there. And so certain things that Norman did, and then the doctor did. And then the very next day, we come up to Norman to see Norman. He put an order in. Norman put an order in to pick up a cheeseburger, an onion fries, and a Diet Coke, and then turned around and told Billy to tell me to go by and pick up some dessert for him. So I called the Queen Mother show. I said, Mom, I'm over here at McDonald's. Do you want anything? She said, no, I don't want nothing. I said, I'll be there in a second. How can I get another call from Billy? Billy said, Norman said, where you at? We're on our way. So I never did tell Mom what I picked up for Norman. Because keep in mind, Norman just came off the ventilator. And then he had a feeding tube in there. Norman pulled the feeding tube out of him 3/4 of the way. And Renee was right there. She said, Norman, wait. Norman said, and gestured, get the nurse. The nurse came over and see Norman pull the feeding tube out. She said, wait a minute, I got to call Dr. Fish. So he called Doc. Doc said, okay, pull it out. That's when Norman got Billy on the phone to order the McDonald's food. So as soon as I pulled up, and Mom and I, we went up, so I had the bag behind me. So Norman let me go see the bag. So Norman told Billy, I bet Rudy forgot to get it. So when we got up, the first thing Norman said, where's my stuff at? I said, it's right here, Norman. So we gave it to Norman. Norman hadn't eaten in something like 2.5 months. and Norman started eating the cheese. Now keep in mind, a lot of the family members came prior to the ICU, and they seen all these things Norman was hooked up to. And then all of a sudden, here they are looking at Norman, eating a cheeseburger, an order of fries, and a Coke. Then he asked for his dessert, some Haagen-Dazs vanilla ice cream. And then he asked me, he said, where's my health bar? So I tricked him. I got a small little piece of peppermint. He didn't order that, he ordered something else. He said, I didn't order that. And I said, here it is, Norman. It was a huge snicker. And so what Norman did with the cheeseburger, he took a piece of the cheeseburger and he started feeding it to the Queen Mother, Shaw right there. I'm telling you, I thank God to give me the opportunity to be with greatness and to work with greatness and take a fraction from him to make me a better person. God has blessed me to be with him, and he has blessed me to be with family. There's so many people that called in, Russell Simmons, Vince Williams and Serena Williams, so many people. I'd like to thank Michael Deception for hooking up Russell Simmons. But I will close by saying this right here, is that this is a celebration of a chosen one that knew his purpose, and he served his purpose. I envision Norman like Mr. Nelson Mandela, and I can say that because I know the two. And these are farmers who fed their people. You see what I'm saying? You are the crops from the seed that Norman planted, and you have sprouted. And so the beauty of it is that Norman was giving a scholarship to the University of Heaven. And I say this to each and every one of you. We all are custodians of his legacy. And when I say to the family, I pledge to you to continue this life of a never-ending journey of keeping Mr. Whitfield's legacy afloat. Let's do a Norman Whitfield Scholarship Foundation for kids. Okay, to find the Norman Whitfield and these kids out here to keep them out of jail and get them in the studio and do what Norman did. In closing, I ask everyone to stand up and give Norman a standing ovation for receiving his scholarship to the University of Texas.
Excuse me one second, somebody else
Yes.
say something.
And Alexis, will you join me, please, so that we may share the light that we celebrate every day.
First and foremost, somebody say Norman was a giant. One of the greatest men that I ever had the privilege of sitting around. I sat around some of those powerful people.
Can't hear you.
I sat around some of those powerful people, and they had nothing wrong with him. He was strong, he was confident, he knew himself in and out. He tried to make everyone better. He would test you to see if you're going to answer back and how you respond. Because the world's going to test you. The world's going to test you. And they're going to break you. And he would test you to make you stronger. And I just pray that I could do 10% of what he did in his life. I pray that for us to all be better and see and to understand that death is the ultimate equalizer and it all reconciles at the end. And life is short. He lost a giant at 68 years old. I encourage everyone to check on their health. Check on their health. Because black people die very young, and this giant should live a very much longer life. I just hope that Uncle Norman will stand down and that he promotes us to have the strength to go out here and take what we have in life. Because he took what we want in our life. And we are a function of him. That's why we're out here. He wouldn't even be in Los Angeles had it not been for the strength that he had. He carried, relocated, and moved his family. And he tried to do as much as he could to report him. Everyone respected him. From the streets to corporate America. And he's a strong, gifted, and talented person who mastered his craft. He was a master of his craft. And I'm thankful that he inculcated in me and inculcated in all of us wisdom and imparted strength within us. Because he's an incredible person. I thought I was going to have the strength to go there and say something. But I thought about it, man, he would have the strength to say something. He would have the strength to say something. Even in his deathbed, he was laying there in physical pain and suffering. He still was a giant. And still made you feel good. And even when he said he wasn't coherent, he was listening. He was watching. He told me before he passed, he said, Mike, don't look at another person's pain. Don't watch other people on side to side. Focus on what it is that you have to accomplish. And you'll always be satisfied. And I just thank him. And I think that as a family, we need more family unity. We got to come back together and allow this to revive the strength and structure of our family. Because we have a strong family. We got 1 million over Whitfields in our family. We just can't come together at times. And we need to promote one another and be powerful like that man was. So I thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak. I thank my uncle for having informed such wonderful people who love and care about him. I was watching the news the other day. They said Giant, Norman Whitfield, has passed away. Now that was in the middle of everything else was going on in the economy. Let's stop it. Just to mention this man. Live every day of your life momentous and not momentary. And every day of your life be a powerful day. And my uncle was a voice. That's all I got to say about that. Straight voice. Thank you.
Alexis comes to share the life with us. Will everyone present please reach out to the family with your right hand, palms up. Bless this house. O Lord, we pray keep it safe with thine glory. Thank you that they will be even closer by the homegrown of one and further away. Treasure every moment in your name. Amen.
My name is Alexis. I'm Norman's great-niece. And I'm going to read the obituary of Norman Whitfield. Norman Jesse Whitfield was born the youngest son to Gerda and William D. Whitfield on May 12, 1940 in the Bronx, New York. The Whitfield family moved to Detroit where he met and married Shirley Lynch and was blessed with 3 sons, Norman, Michael, and Norman. Detroit is where he met the legendary music icon Berry Gordy and became an integral part of the Motown hit machine. Norman's fame began by winning Motown's first Grammy for the song Cloud 9, performed by the legendary Temptations. It was through this innovative song that Norman pushed the Motown sound far beyond the sweet, sultry melody and puppy love songs to a more edgy, psychedelic funk. Norman solidified his talent and position in this field when he wrote one of the greatest songs in the history of rock and roll music, I Heard It Through the Grapevine. This song was recorded by numerous well-known artists, hitting the charts at #1. Some of Norman's other hit songs include Papa Was a Rolling Stone, Just My Imagination, or It Ain't 2000 Grade, and the list goes on. His body of work impacted the music industry and the world, a legacy that will live on from generation to generation. Migrating with Motown to Los Angeles, Norman realized and launched his true pride and joy, Whitfield Records. The label birthed the newly on-the-scene group Rose Woods, and once again, Norman's gift for songwriting and producing created magic and landed him the #1 movie soundtrack, Car Wash. Norman's blessings continued during this period with the birth of his daughter Irasha and his youngest son Roland. Respected around the world as one of the most prolific songwriters of all time, Norman was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2004, an honor of recognition only bestowed upon those few talented songwriters whose work helped to reshape the music industry. Norman loved his family and friends. He embraced a good debate and gave his advice whether he wanted it or not.
at the drop of a hat. If you had a question, Norman had an answer. Those of you who truly knew Norman also knew he loved Pete's hot dogs, Fat Burger, and Haagen-Dazs ice cream. A vacation for Norman would be a weekend in Las Vegas, a day at the racetrack, or a game of tennis at a Montgomery Park. Norman's parents and sister Joan preceded Norman away. Norman went home to be with the Lord on September 16, 2008, at the age of 68 years old. He leaves behind to cherish his memories, his brother Bill Whitfield, 4 sons, Norman, Michael, John, and Roland, his daughter Irasha, 9 grandchildren, John, Charles, Tiffany, Brandon, Lyndon, Ariel, Alon, Christian, and Solomon, 1 great-grandchild, Tyler, 2 nephews, 3 nieces, great-nieces, great-nephews, cousins, and a host of relatives and friends. Norman spent his final days surrounded by his family, lovers, and close friends by his side. He will surely be missed but never forgotten. His songs and his spirit is a legacy that will live on forever.
Reading from Senator Montgomery Thomas's Office of Resolution, Peace 29. And then we'll hear from Dr. Fish, musician, medical healer, and student. Senator himself, Montgomery Thomas, peace, God. Testimony to the immediate extended family, along with the behalf of the residents. All members of the court express their contribution to extend our deepest sympathy to the entirety of all those who have come to know him, love him, and see his heart and be left. Hard to love him, celebrate this day is recorded in history. Still the word of the old man, and not worthy of our acknowledgement, and worthy to be celebrated. Thank you. Thank you so much. Very kind of you, and our best to the Black Caucus.